Fisker is preparing for a possible bankruptcy filing and is hiring restructuring advisors. Fisker stock is down 40% in the after hours. That was yesterday, and right now, Fisker stock is down 53% in just one single day. So today, another Tesla killer is acquitted of all charges. It's almost like every week I make the same video. A Tesla killer is now getting killed. I expect to see more. Shout out to AJ for predicting this bankruptcy a few months ago. With Fisker reportedly hiring bankruptcy consultants, yeah, I think it's pretty much safe to say it's over for them.
State separation.
Elon today made history, but I'll get into that later in the video. Henrik Fisker, the CEO of Fisker, purchased a $22 million home 2.5 years ago, right after the IPO, I assume. And AJ says, given this is Henrik's second large-scale bankruptcy, the previous one was 10 years ago, he thinks that he will try one more, probably in the robotics field. His wife, by the way, is the CFO of the company. He is not selling his house, he's actually putting it up for rent. $125,000 per month, that's a lot. I have never paid this much in rent. I once stayed for, relatively speaking, quite a while in a $17 million property, and the rent for that one was 32,000 Canadian dollars. So nothing close to 125,000 USD. Someone says MKBHD really destroyed this whole man's life. Remember this? This is the worst car I've ever reviewed from Marcus Brownlee. This was a Fisker vehicle. But this was coming for them whether Marcus Brownlee posted that video or not. Steven commented on the house. What a dumb, doesn't even have a production line you can sleep on. We just crossed out Fisker from this chart. Who do you think is going to be next? Now, in the short term, this is actually not good news for Tesla, because it creates more pressure on the whole EV industry when a name like Fisker goes out of business basically completely. But in the long term, what this does accomplish is it reduces Tesla's competition, and then Tesla later on can dominate the industry easier. So there's no arguing that Tesla's price cuts have impacted the competition. And in the short term, that of course impacts Tesla as well. And you can see that in the stock price. But in the long term, I don't think this is a bad strategy. If you are willing to hold Tesla stock for the long term, I think this is a pretty good strategy. Just as long you can hold Tesla stock through this noise, and I expect a lot of noise. Is Lucid going to be the next Fisker going out of business? I think it's relatively unlikely that they would just outright declare bankruptcy, because the Saudis have a long track record of funding companies that appear to be not exactly in the best place, even long term. So I don't expect a hard bankruptcy case similar to Fisker, but a take private or a merger with another company. Yeah, these are certainly possible. I think taking the company private is very likely. In the last 5 days, Lucid stock has dropped further. The market cap is now around $6 billion. And they burn about $700 million per quarter. And then building new vehicles, next generation vehicles, will increase the cash burn. So for these reasons, any capital raises by Lucid will have to start with a $2 billion number at least to provide enough runway. But its market cap is 6.4 billion only. So if the stock drops even further, with the market cap being even lower, I think the drop eventually would accelerate, because Lucid would need to raise a lot of money just to get by, but with a lower market cap, that becomes less and less and less likely, therefore further accelerating the drop of the stock. So based on that, AJ expects Lucid to drop precipitously once they drop below $4.5 billion in market value. This is pretty big news for Tesla. Tesla will bring electric semi-truck production to Berlin. Volume production, however, will still start in the US first. Elon specifically said, I think it makes sense to produce the Tesla Semi in Europe in Gigafactory Berlin. There's no timeline though. In the meantime, Dan Ives reiterates his $315 12-month Tesla stock price target. This further reinforces that Tesla will eventually solve full self-driving, because look at this. V12 driving style in New York City blew my mind. It purposely drove different in NYC than it did in Austin, Texas.
Car with no flashers on. We got a van with flashers on.
It's gonna do it. Oh my God.
We got a pedestrian who's probably in this car. Wow. And that pedestrian was in that car. And wow. It threaded that. That wasn't a needle, but that was challenging.
And FSD Beta v12.3 is rolling out to more people now. Elon hyped up that version. We'll see how much of an improvement it actually has compared to this last previous version. But I'm certainly excited about it. And FSD v12 has proven to be quite a bit better already. But if you do drive it, make sure that you pay attention. It's definitely not perfect. This is good news. There's a new Cybertruck record. Over 300 Cybertrucks have been spotted at Giga Texas. Before, we have seen a little bit over 100 Cybertrucks, so this is a pretty significant change. A big shout out goes to whoever counted every single one of those Cybertrucks in all of these different parking locations. They're all scattered, they're not just in one place. So it's getting a bit difficult to count. And specifically, it seems like there were 317 Cybertrucks spotted. James says this is a great sign for both 4680 and Cybertruck ramps. And Omar is typically quite optimistic, but he says can't really draw many conclusions about 4680 ramp here as production of the vehicle body is still so low. But this is certainly not bad news. I take this as good news. I would not be surprised if Gary Black sold more Tesla stock. He says what ails Tesla, it's increasingly difficult to justify a 55 to 60x PE on a company with a single-digit year-over-year sales growth until the next generation vehicle comes out in 2026. Elon before did say that Tesla is likely to start production towards the end of 2025, implying that basically first deliveries would start in 2026. Elon did say, though, that he is often optimistic about timelines, so it could be a little bit delayed. There was another pretty significant Tesla stock price target cut. However, I don't see this as significant news because they had a neutral rating and they are still keeping a neutral rating. So it's just that the stock has moved basically since their last update. And I would say that's the main reason why they are changing their price target, not because of anything significant really, although they did change their Q1 delivery estimates as well as 2024 estimates. They are now estimating that Tesla will deliver less than 2 million cars. They also cut their 2025 delivery estimate from 2.6 million to 2.2 million. They said the revision is driven by slower demand in Western countries, intense competition in China, and an assumption of very limited Model 2 units in 2025, pushing any meaningful volume to start in 2026. Of course, we should all believe him and sell all of our Tesla stock holdings because among zero-star analysts, he is doing really well. And last year, in Q4, Tesla generated positive $2.1 billion, overtaking the Schoen Group, which delivered combined negative $7 billion. That's due to current global automotive price wars being quite intense. And for this reason, Tesla managing to grow at all while competitors burn through their cash resources at staggering rates is a remarkable feat. And it's obvious that this situation is unsustainable and will ultimately lead to a retrenchment where incumbents will refocus on ever-shrinking lucrative niches for their products. Tesla started a price war, and so far, I would say it's winning. It does hurt Tesla in the process, but in the long term, I believe Tesla will come out of this swinging. Now you can take the following list as positives or negatives. It could be a positive because these are catalysts waiting to be unleashed. Gary says, Tesla's management still doesn't realize the average American is unaware, number one, how convenient Teslas are to charge as long as you live in a place where you can charge overnight. Number two, how inexpensive Teslas are to buy and maintain. And number three, how good FSD V12 is at driving itself. I don't think Gary Black has been saying things like that about FSD earlier, but he just got a ride in a Tesla vehicle on FSD V12, and now he seems to be positive about it. And he finishes with absent broad and compelling communications, not just on X. Tesla cannot be more valuable than Apple. Apple currently is almost $2.7 trillion in market cap. Tesla is 500. So if Tesla was close to Apple, that would be about a 5x. In other words, the stock would be $800 per share. I think if the stock suddenly rallies to $800, I think many investors would be quite okay with that. But one thing is certain, it's never boring being a Tesla stock investor. We are number one currently, says Omar. This was in response to Tesla currently being the worst performing stock in all of the S&P 500 so far in 2024. The thing about Tesla stock though is often there's either too much negativity to a point there is just overload of negativity, and there's an overcorrection, and then there's a hype phase, and then the stock rallies. In his multi-decade long career, Elon Musk has not disappointed a single long-term, and I emphasize long-term, investor who's stuck with Elon Musk. And there are people that used to support Elon Musk before Elon Musk became quite a bit more political. Ross Gerber says, free speech absolutist who cancels free speech he doesn't like, talking about Elon Musk. And there's a statement here, I want to make a public apology. I turned off CNBC last night when some Muppet was explaining for the 200th time why Elon bad and Tesla bad. By turning off the TV, I canceled that person's free speech and did not let him complete his thought. I feel ashamed for this egregious abandonment of free speech. I believe Ross Gerber was referring to Elon Musk not doing a business deal with Don Lemon anymore, but Elon Musk is not canceling Don Lemon's account on X. So how is canceling a business deal equal to you're damaging my free speech? I don't see the connection here. Banning Don Lemon on X, yeah, that would be taking away his free speech, but he's not doing that. Here's some more Tesla stock news. Number one, a real estate agent with a small PP has sold all 3 of his shares and is now short Tesla stock because inflation. I think he's talking about Meet Kevin. Number 2, a degenerate crypto gambler who failed his Polytechnic course has retweeted his $69 price prediction. I believe he's talking about Chicken Genius Singapore. Number 3, a fund manager overseeing $12.50 of assets under management who likes watching ads on TV thinks Tesla should do some ads on TV. I think I know who he's talking about. Number 4, a wealth manager who 100% of the time underperforms the stock market every time he has a daily slot on CNBC to remind everyone that he sold his Tesla shares. I think that's Ross Gerber. I don't know where to go from here. The experts have spoken, the end is nigh. But I don't think the FUD right now about Tesla stock is nowhere near as bad as where it was in 2019 when shortly after I became a Tesla stock investor in early 2019. It got pretty bad during the summer. I remember Morgan Stanley came out with his bear case price target of $10. Keep in mind, Tesla stock split multiple times since then, but at that time, Tesla stock was trading at about $200. So what? A 95% drop? I don't hear any relatively mainstream analysts saying anything close to that. So I have been through that. I feel comfortable holding Tesla stock. James Shorty, Tesla stock update. I expect the cost per vehicle to increase this quarter and auto margin excluding credits to drop quarter over quarter. Lots of reasons for this. Giga Berlin downtime and idle capacity costs. Higher production labor costs in the US and Europe, higher transportation costs in Giga Berlin supply chain as shipping from China was disrupted due to the Red Sea incidents, higher Cybertruck contribution to overall delivery mix, decreased Fremont factory utilization due to issues with the Model 3 ramp, and higher depreciation costs due to new equipment required for the new Model 3. These forces should push up costs and more than offset any cost savings Tesla will achieve from commodities plus better Austin Model Y production. But the silver lining is that this should be Tesla's highest COGS per vehicle quarter all year. If Tesla is able to keep average selling price at least flat quarter over quarter, in subsequent quarters, margin will go up. James said that he is not feeling really positive about Tesla stuff, but also he explicitly stated that his timeline basically considers things happening in the next 12 to 24 months. So he's not necessarily looking out 10 years when he looks at Tesla stock. Can Tesla keep prices at least flat? I would become very bullish if we see that they start to advertise aggressively or if FSD starts to show a lot more promise. Another thing that could completely change the margin story in the second half of 2024 is the success of the 4680 ramp. If ever Tesla decides, for example, to bring back the 4680 Model Y version 2, that would be a bullish signal. AJ, of course, doesn't get everything right all the time, but he did share a list of things that he did get right. And here's how he feels about Tesla. I can barely remember a time when the setup for Tesla stock was better. Number one, there's a lack of attention. Investors are not paying attention to Tesla, not as much as usual. Nvidia and Bitcoin are drawing attention away from Tesla. There's also rate cuts that are likely coming. Seasonality for autos creates a tailwind from here on. Raw material prices continue to decline. Latest V12 videos look promising. As the robotics hype is building, so will the hype around Optimus. Now, I'm not saying that Optimus will make a lot of money for Tesla anywhere near in the short term or anything like that, but it's enough for everyone to get overly excited about that idea for Tesla stock to jump massively, just like everyone got excited about supercharging almost a year now, before today, or more like 9 months ago. Tesla's somewhat dated Model Y continues to break records and leads in some of the most competitive auto markets in the world. And finally, a long streak of the share price underperformance. As I argued in my research as AJ, as weak quarters drop out of the estimates, we should see the stock move up in 2024. Many estimates now look too low, and Tesla managed to defend a quite high PE for a long time, excluding the EV bubble era. Hyundai and Kia Motors will recall 170,000 vehicles, the largest EV recall ever in South Korea, and these vehicles are extremely dangerous due to an ICCU software error and are unable to charge the low voltage battery and are likely to stop while driving. It's not an over-the-air update. Seems like the recall currently is just in South Korea, but it might come over here as well. Electric ran a poll on this today, and the majority of our readers seem to think Tesla would be worth more without Elon Musk. 30% of the people said Tesla would be worth more with Elon, and 56% said worth more without Elon. I think if suddenly Elon stepped down, the stock would drop, so I would disagree with this assessment. We had major SpaceX news today. SpaceX's Starship rocket, which is the rocket needed to colonize Mars, the largest and most powerful rocket ever, successfully lifted off today and completed stage separation, which is a big deal.
Backburn setting it up for eventual splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico.
Stage separation.
Hot staging confirmed. Boosters now making its way back, seeing 6 engines ignited on ship. Kate, we got a Starship on its way to space and a booster on the way back to the Gulf.
Oh man, I need a moment to pick my jaw up from the floor.
These rockets are basically like flying towers, flying buildings. And the hot stage separation is a historical moment that will be remembered. And actually, we had some positive headlines in the media about this. I think this is from CNBC. SpaceX Starship launches successfully in the 3rd flight test, notches new milestones on its way around Earth. But I think Sawyer spoke a little bit too soon. Quickly, Reuters cover the story not exactly in a positive way. I mean, it's not that they were wrong to have a headline like this, but it misses the bigger point of the test actually being a huge success today. The Starship rocket, though, has been lost. However, SpaceX has multiple other Starship rockets ready to go, and we should expect the next one relatively soon. So it's just a matter of time before that rocket goes up in space and then actually lands back successfully. And that will be a huge historical moment.
Down.
So like we said, this plasma field is, wow, what a view. We hope to maintain these views throughout. Starship is so big that we're hoping that the plasma field doesn't entirely blanket the entire vehicle. Right now, it is not. The Starlinks are
Views brought to you by Starlink.
Yeah, the Starlinks are still communicating.
Elon says, this was wild. We have never seen the super hot plasma grow in real time. As you can see right now, this is just the heat. The rocket engines are actually not firing. You can see that they are actually all off. This is just the plasma doing all of this.
Going through right now, or what it would be getting if it were recovering from an orbital mission. And just the fact that we have views through entry, this is incredible.
Yeah. Again, this is the furthest and fastest that Starship has ever flown. And you can definitely tell by the crowd here in Hawthorne.
The heat shield tiles doing their work. We talked about it earlier. Up to 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit that those heat shield tiles are dissipating as we are re-entering.
Yeah, now this was one of the critical, or rather the key mission objectives that we were hoping to hit today. We have never, like I said before, this is the fastest and furthest that Starship has ever flown. So this is the first time that we're getting to collect this re-entry data and understand how these 18,000 hexagonal heat shield tiles are working together to protect the belly of Starship as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
RBC Capital's Tom Narayan has a buy rating, price target of 298, joins us right here at Post 9. Not going your way today. Tom, why do you feel like things are going to turn for this company?
Yeah, I mean, look, this company is in between two waves, is what Elon calls it, right? You had the Model 3 and the Model Y, which is largely saturated. The next big catalyst is going to be the affordable car. Unfortunately, that comes in, H2 25. So he doesn't think about things on a day-to-day or month-to-month period, as you probably know very well. He's looking at things from a years, if not decades, perspective. So we're just in between this period of two lulls. Eventually, we'll get this catalyst with this vehicle that'll come out. And there's some long-term tectonic things that people just aren't talking about, which folks like me will start writing reports about and get folks interested eventually.
So, such as?
Energy storage. Nobody's talking about this. This is trillions of dollars of opportunity. Problem is, it's like decades away, potentially. These guys have 15% market share in this business, and the profitability is higher than the profitability of cars. And then, of course, autonomy, right? There's just a lot of negativity in autonomy today. If you guys ever used FSD, I think it's a pretty amazing product. I think it's the most amazing product I've used since the iPhone. We're finally going to get this version 12 this year, which could get the attach rate up. The problem is not even enough people have tested this thing. Once you have people test it and the pricing needs to come down, that can change things dramatically. People look at it as a software stock, not just an auto company.
Right. You can sit here and talk about what's on the come, but 25 is a long way away to wait for this new, cheaper model.
I think this perfectly illustrates the current state of many investors, their state of mind. 2025 is a long time from now. I think if you want to be a very successful investor, having a time horizon for your investments that are less than 5 to 10 years will substantially increase your likelihood of underperforming by a lot. I don't go to casinos and gamble with my money. If I did, I would find a game that's at least the least rigged or the one that's more in my favor. I, however, watched my friend go to a casino and he had something like $100 that he wanted to just try, and he went and I think he played blackjack, I think it's called. I watched him, and somehow in a row, multiple times, he just lost very badly. And then we watched other people come, and they also, everyone was losing. I didn't see anyone that won at all playing that game. I believe the game was rigged. I'm confident of that. Just like if you invest for the short term in the stock market, the game is sort of rigged against you. It's incredibly difficult to win. But investing for the long term has proven to be a great strategy. I mean, I have countless names that I can give you. Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Ron Barron, just to name a few. These people don't trade.
And so I do wonder what happens in the intervening years at this point to at least keep the stock where it is, if not battle those who say EV sales growth is slowing down. Used car prices for Teslas, for example, are a key indicator that this is not going the way they want it to.
Yeah, you're right. Things could get worse before they get better. There's no doubt about it. My job is to say where this stock will be a year from now, not next week. So, yeah, you're right. And the other issue is, while I think they'll hit the volume target that the sell side has, I don't think it's that aggressive, actually, for 24. I think that'll come from price cutting, which impacts profitability, and that's what everybody worries about. So, you're right. Near term, definitely challenging. Elon says it all the time, right? But again, you got to have a broader view of it. And I don't know about you, I can never time this thing, right? So it pops when it pops, right? Somebody like me writes a big report and everybody gets excited, and that's the narrative that changes things. Near term, though, I just don't know what the near-term catalyst is from a data point perspective that re-rates the stock.
What percentage of your valuation model is the core auto business?
10%.
10%?
Yes.
And the rest is energy?
Autonomy and energy.
AI,
mostly autonomy.
Mostly autonomy.
Yeah.
And what about AI robotics? Or
I don't include robotics in there at all.
because
right.
Because of the risk you might do it elsewhere, or something else?
We just don't have any evidence of a product that's out there in the market making money. Energy storage is already making a bunch of money for them. And autonomy, they do have an FSD product, which is really compelling, and they're charging $200 a month for this product.
How about China risk? If, in fact, things really, I mean, TikTok's just one example of tariffs, what may happen a year or two from now?
Yep, no doubt. It's definitely a risk right now. We saw the Q1 numbers. I think those have to come down on deliveries. A lot of that is China New Year. But look, structurally, it's 40% of their volumes. But at the end of the day, their product that they sell, they do have better profitability than any other car company, maybe besides BYD, right? They should do well long term. And again, auto business, 10% of my valuation, right? It's really an autonomy business and an energy storage business.
It pops when it pops, and I will be in Tesla stock when that happens the next time. And in the meantime, I will continue buying Tesla stock. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I published this video largely because my younger brothers, they are 14 years old, asked me about these two individuals. This is not an endorsement of them. A lot of my friends also asked me what's going on with them. Are they innocent? Are they not? And I don't follow them closely enough to know for sure. So I decided to look into the matter myself and then come to my conclusion eventually. Anyway, if you are interested in these two guys, watch this video next and I will see you there.